Hey everyone, and welcome to the new episode of the Performance Growthcast. I'm Polina, head of PR at AdChampagne, and today I'm thrilled to welcome James Dickins, tech support team lead at Gamelight. So hey James, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going very good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And today we'll basically explore how rewarded user acquisition has evolved in 2025. Also, we'll find out the impact of privacy changes and AI automation and how this model is successfully expanding beyond gaming into some other verticals. But first of all, I'd suggest James to start with his personal story. So, how did you find your way into the rewarded user acquisition space, and what led you to Gamelight specifically?
Yeah, so in reality, it was something I kind of stumbled upon with rewarded UA being quite young when I first started. I had a general interest in marketing, consumer behavior, and gaming, and Gamelight kind of hit all these aspects. So I thought it would be a good fit for me, and it has been a very exciting space to be a part of. Lots of change happening very, very fast. So I'm very happy to be here.
That sounds really great. And tech support team lead sound like a very unique position because you are kind of in the intersection of technology, client success, and also product performance. So, what's the most exciting or maybe rewarding part of this role for you? And is it solving complex technical challenges, maybe helping clients succeed, or something else?
I would say solving technical problems is the most rewarding for me. Having that problem solving side is always good, and it allows me to engage with other departments, which I really enjoy.
Great. Also, I'd like to point one more moment as Gamelight has carved out a distinctive position in the rewarded user acquisition landscape. And from your perspective, working there, maybe you could share what makes Gamelight's approach unique.
Yeah, so I think utilizing AI allows for much smaller teams with great results still. And this creates an environment where change happens very fast without a lot of hoops to jump through internally. And on top of this, giving the freedom to the publisher to create and customize their own campaigns through a self-serve dashboard. So they have the control in real time. And this creates a system for campaigns to grow very quickly without any blockers as well.
Yeah, actually, in total, rewarded user acquisition sounds like a magic tool, and we'll dive deeper into this concept today a bit later. Finishing with the ice-breaking talks and coming up to the main block, let's take a step back to the basics and focus on the main concept, so namely rewarded user acquisition. So for listeners who might be not very familiar with the model, could you please explain what rewarded user acquisition actually is? And how does it work from both the users and the advertisers' perspective?
Yeah, of course. So rewarded UA is a performance marketing model where users receive rewards for completing valuable actions within an app. From the user's perspective, it's simple and voluntary. So a user is offered something of value, like an in-app currency, extra lives in a game, or premium features, and it could even be real-world rewards. So in return for watching maybe a short video or trying out an app or completing a task within an app. So the key here is that the users choose to participate. So the ad experience feels less intrusive and is a fair value exchange. From the advertiser's perspective, rewarded user acquisition is a way to attract highly engaged users.
Mhm.
Because users are opting in and completing an action to earn a reward, advertisers typically see higher completion rates, better retention, and stronger post-install engagement than with traditional ads. And I think overall, rewarded user acquisition, it aligns incentives on both sides. So users get something that they value, and advertisers acquire users who are more likely to be genuinely interested and engaged in their apps.
Mm-hmm. Actually, for me personally, that idea of a value exchange really stands out because in this sense, that users are not being interrupted when they are doing something that they are used to, but they are actively choosing to participate, and they are genuinely happy to see those ads. And I'm really curious what makes rewarded user acquisition fundamentally different from traditional paid user acquisition channels like maybe social media ads or search campaigns or some others?
Yeah, so I think the main difference is a real focus on the post-install engagement. There are many ways in which Rewarded UA does this, such as choosing the right user who is most likely to engage long-term before, and obviously rewarding those post-install actions. But a really good example of this difference is the intention of the user when engaging with the traditional style of ads and rewarded channels. So with traditional channels, users are actively doing something else, either browsing online or engaging in a different app's content. So this requires the ad not only to be something the user would like to engage with, but it also needs the user to stop what they're actively doing at that moment and shift their focus. So unlike this interruptive style of ad, with rewarded UA, users choose to interact knowing exactly what they're going to get in return. And this single difference of the users having the choice to engage creates a strategy that is not only invites high intent long-term users, but also reduces the number of low intent users that will drop off quickly.
So, if we look beyond just how it feels for the user and think in terms of performance, predictability, and maybe even long term impact, it starts to sound like a very different strategic tool that naturally leads us to the question that every growth team definitely asks. So, what are the core advantages of this model, and why would an app choose rewarded UA over other acquisition techniques and methods?
Yeah, so there are many advantages to this model. That focus on post-install engagement rather than the install in itself is one, but that's not the only advantage. So rewarded UA offers measurable return on investment in real time. So it's transparent and performance based. So marketers can track what happens after the install. Maybe it's the session frequency, the retention, version behavior, and lifetime value. So this gives real-time insight into the campaigns, allowing you to adapt and change quickly. On top of this, ad fatigue is a real thing. Traditional display and video ads rely on repetition, and users have largely turned them out. So rewarded UA works differently. It aligns the user's motivation with their attention. So instead of forcing exposure, it rewards curiosity. That makes it one of the few scalable channels that can grow aggressively without compromising the user experience. For marketers, that means better results and fewer wasted impressions. For users, it's this fair exchange of value. And for why an app would choose rewarded UA, this is an excellent question because non-rewarded channels still have their place. I think when your goal is to reach as many users as possible and brand visibility, so volume matters more than precision, traditional UA works very well. But if your goals are more about retention and your return on ad spend rather than pure volume, and if you want this predictable performance, rewarded UA is an ideal option.
Yeah, it basically sounds like a very comprehensive tool that combines not only this like happiness and maybe this ability to participate and watching these ads from the user side, but it also has some adaptability in the real time, and also it allows the marketers to have this high and valued performance metrics. So it sounds like a very wonderful tool for usage. And yet, despite those strengths, rewarded user acquisition still sometimes gets put into a very narrow box by a lot of people from the industry. I'm sure you've heard a few of those assumptions. So I'm wondering here, if there are any common misconceptions about rewarded UA that you'd like to clear up?
Yeah, there are. So the main one that I would comes to mind immediately is that rewarded UA is just a user bribing tactic that attracts these sort of reward hunter users. When reality, this is not the case. So it's really about a value exchange, and a large focus is put onto creating a positive experience for the user. So users are willingly watching an ad or to try a new app in return for something valuable. And this opt-in dynamic builds goodwill and trust, not resentment. And with attracting these reward hunters, with AI targeting, you filter out those who churn after rewards. You prioritize players who convert from incentives into long-term engagement, and you optimize reward size and frequency based on the user's predicted quality. So this makes sure that we are bringing real users who are looking to engage and not just grab rewards and leave. And
Mhm.
in a world where players are bombarded with ads, rewarded placements stand out because they respect the user's time and offer something tangible in return.
hmm Actually, the idea of aligning incentives and focusing on what happens after the install, it feels especially relevant now because the whole system is moving faster and becoming even more data driven. Looking back over the past year, I'm curious how that's actually played out in practice. So, from your perspective at Gamelight, what are the biggest changes that you've seen and noticed in rewarded UA over the past year?
Yeah, so some of the biggest changes that we've seen are to do with the speed in which you can optimize campaigns and how to deliver the rewards in a way that bring the best results specific to a certain app or genre. So to start off with optimizing campaigns, usually this is a process which requires time for cohorts to grow to determine which optimizations to take. However, using machine learning to analyze engagement behavior in real time allows for rewards to be adjusted dynamically, for target users to refine automatically. So quality can improve with each iteration much faster than you could previously.
Mm.
And in 2025, there has been a lot of experimentation with reward personalization. So previously, the focus was on how to deliver rewards, whether it was videos, playables, or offerals. However, now there's been a change of focus to what the reward is and when you reward users, because depending on the type of app bringing the best success, this can vary very differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned speed personalization and real-time optimization. Uh, I think all of which might somehow even heavily rely on data. So at the same time, privacy has become one of the biggest constraints for marketers everywhere in like each field. So my next question is about the privacy changes that have been reshaping the entire mobile marketing landscape. So, how has rewarded user acquisition adapted to this new reality? And does the model have related advantages in a privacy-first world?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the post IDFA landscape made performance marketing harder in
Mm.
many cases, but for rewarded UA, it's actually created an advantage. So players choose to engage in exchange for something of value. And in this exchange, the user knows what they'll receive, what they need to do, and importantly, what data is being collected. And this data that is being collected is not personal identifiers. It's contextual engagement signals collected through things like loyalty programs and in-app events. So this opt-in first-party data means rewarded UA is naturally privacy friendly, allowing you to focus on performance-driven campaigns whilst keeping it transparent and compliant. And this is one of the reasons why rewarded UA has gained traction in 2025 with these growing concerns around privacy.
hmm Well, there is an opinion that if privacy is shaping what data you can use, AI seems to be shaping how you use it. And rewarded UA here feels like a really interesting intersection of those two forces. And more than that, AI automation is also everywhere now, like we are speaking mostly about the rising trends. So I'd really like to find out how AI is being leveraged in rewarded campaigns at Gamelight, from targeting to optimization and to reward delivery, or maybe some other points of the process.
Yeah, so AI is used in a lot of areas. I think if we start with targeting, traditional targeting uses basic demographics such as age, gender, or device type. And manually, you can find more or less successful areas within these demographics. However, this approach misses out on many users whose interests and play styles don't fit into these broad demographic groups. So, for example, if an app finds through testing that females aged 45 plus, so the strongest KPIs. However, there will be many 25 to 45 age males that would show long-term engagement and high spend. But because they're clumped together with all 25 to 45 males, they are just completely overlooked. So by using AI targeting, you open up the opportunity to analyze data at a level which humans are just not capable of, such as using past gaming habits, preferred genres, completion rates, maybe which apps users spend their time in, their session length, and many, many more. So by clustering users not by these demographics, but actually by their user behavior, you don't miss out on these potential high value users in other areas. So, and bringing the right users to the right games is only really the first step, right? So AI is used in predictive lifetime value modeling. So by analyzing early actions, tutorial completed, first rewarded app, or these early engagement signals, AI estimates a player's lifetime value within hours, not weeks. So this allows you to your campaigns to shift budgets instantly towards these high value cohorts. AI is also used to adjust rewards in real time with dynamic reward optimization. So AI tests and adjusts rewards size, type, and frequency because some players may convert better with small, frequent boosters, while others may need premium rewards tied to long-term milestones. So use AI to adjust rewards in real time to which will bring the best results.
So it seems like AI is actually used in very different multiple roles and for different duties at Gamelight. And it seems like with all this personalization, privacy first signals, and all other things you mentioned, rewarded UA isn't just keeping up. On the contrary, it's actually gaining strategic weight in a lot of growth stacks, and AI is also helping this to become and to grow. So what would you say are the biggest strengths of rewarded UA today that make it essential for growth-focused apps?
So the biggest strength is a focus on this long-term retention, which can drive organic growth. So your visibility, ranking, and discoverability on the app stores are all improved with high day 7 and day 30 retention rates. And additionally, when done well, users have a positive, rewarding experience, so they're much more likely to share it. And if you combine this with social or referral-based rewards, you naturally drive organic growth further by creating additional installs without adding any additional cost.
So it sounds like a magic formula. I'm again repeating this kind of words because it's just impressive with which, like the formula with which the users are happy to see ads. They are willing to see it and they are willing to get the benefit from it. And more than that, it could be very cost productive. So this is impressive. And we've talked a lot about mechanics. That were born kind of in gaming, so things like progression, rewards, habit loops, and some other things. But what's really interesting here is how those ideas are now shaping into a bit different verticals. So they are showing up in completely different industries. So, as rewarded UA was traditionally seen as a gaming specific model and method tool, I'm really curious what changed now. So, why does it work from the other perspective, and why does it work for non gaming apps right now?
Yeah, so rewarded UA used to be considered just for games because the rewarded model was built around in-app currencies, levels, and progression. And these mechanics which naturally fit into gaming environments. But what has changed is that non-gaming apps are seeing the success within gaming apps and are realizing that fundamentally rewarded UA was never specifically about gaming. It is instead about motivation, which is not exclusive to gaming. So the core idea of rewarded UA is a user takes a meaningful action and then they're rewarded with something valuable in return. Now, what that meaningful action is and what is valuable to the user will change between verticals, but the underlying process translates cleanly into almost any vertical. So any app which has high drop-off points or friction points can use rewarded UA to motivate users through them to see engaged users down the line. And what we're seeing with early adopters of rewarded UA in non-gaming apps, we're already seeing results which mirror gaming benchmarks with higher opt-in rates, conversion lifts on key actions, and day 30 retention boosts.
Mm-hmm. And when you frame this rewarded UA as a way to move people through drop-off points that you mentioned, one thing that arises in my head is fintech vertical, because it's kind of feels like one of the toughest, while also most revealing um, place to apply that logic. So let's get a bit more specific here. And I'm really interested in how does rewarded UA work for fintech apps. So what makes users acquired through rewards valuable in this high stakes vertical?
Yeah, onboarding in fintech is notoriously tough. You're asking people to jump through ID checks, link different accounts, make deposits, learn completely new tools. So there are many of these friction points early on, and this is where you see users drop off. That's where, rewarded UA works very well. Instead of pushing people through these tedious processes, instead it motivates the user through each step. So every step becomes a milestone with a reward, reducing these early drop-offs and leading to, engaged users that will use the app for a long time.
Well, I didn't even think of this from that point of view. Like the users are not only being motivated, but the value they're getting is also high for them. Yet, that balance between short term activation and long term habit building seems especially tricky in categories where users are constantly tempted by the next offer or the next app. So, I think you already understand which verticals I mean here. So, what about e commerce and lifestyle apps? So how does the rewarded model help find users who will become repeat customers and not just one-time installers?
Yeah, so if we start with e-commerce, these one-time installers are a problem. And I think this is the overuse of discounts. This creates a spike in use, but then the user will just look for that next discount somewhere else, creating this one-time installer rather than that repeat customer, which you actually want. So with rewarded UA, you are building a relationship with the user over time. And this is the key to finding that repeat customer. To do this well, it is important to choose the right rewards and the right reward triggers. So luckily with e-commerce, there are many ways in which you can reward the user. It could be loyalty points redeemed on future purchases, cashback on transactions, or exclusive perks such as free shipping or early access to products. So this isn't a problem here. But when you're defining the right reward triggers, this will generally change based on your brand and the goals that you have. But one thing all e-commerce brands should do to start with is to start small. So you could start with completing registration or onboarding, adding your first payment method, ranking first, making your first purchase, or joining a loyalty program. These are all very good starting points. And then once you have this a bit of data, scale on that performance data that you're receiving to see where you should control that area. So for lifestyle apps, it's all about routine and habit formation, which
Mhm.
does fit perfectly into rewarded UA design. I think the most important area for lifestyle is to identify and target users who are already motivated to act. For example, if you take a fitness app, it's going to be very difficult to motivate someone who never works out, goes to the gym, to suddenly start getting someone like that to use a fitness app is going to be very difficult. So rewarded UA, it works well here as it not only targets users who are interested in lifestyle, but it also gives the user the choice to engage. So you're not wasting these impressions on users who never had an interest in the first place. And looking at this, the post-install actions that you can take, rewarded UA integrates very well into habit building. So behavioral science has shown consistent rewards help form long-term habits. So using this principle, you can create rewards that reinforce habit loops and keep users engaged beyond that first week and into that long-term user which you desire.
Now I see that triggering the e-com and lifestyle app users is especially about building repeated sessions and relationships, while also habit building, as you mentioned, and this as well making them benefit from that in real value. And if we could consider another vertical where success isn't just about the individual user, but about building an active, living community that keeps pulling people back in. So I mean, dating here, as you also understand. So how can rewarded UA help build that initial community and keep it engaged in the long term?
Yeah, a lot of the drop off in dating apps is related to that initial setup phase. So I think the first few minutes is all you really need to determine whether someone stays or churns in a dating app. So motivating users past this point with rewards so that they can actually experience the app is a great use case of rewarded UA. Um, I think you can take this a step further by creating engagement loops from onboarding. This is where dating apps perform very well. So to do this, use rewards to encourage further curiosity within the app and to explore certain features. So for example, if a user completes their profile, they may earn some free super likes, or by verifying their account, they can unlock a week free premium features. So this encourages the user to engage further, leading to actual commitment within the app. Past these early stages, you should look to reward engagement which feels organic. So what's been working with dating apps so far are daily engagement challenges, such as a certain amount of messages or likes and logins, and event-based rewards like celebrating milestones, whether it be a 3-day use streak, 10-day use streak, and so on.
Well, actually, rewarded UA here is kind of very relevant tool for the dating vertical, as those kinds of rewards can really make a person stick in an application and join the community, sometimes maybe even unconsciously. So for now, we've covered everything from fundamentals to AI, privacy, and expansion into new verticals. So before we wrap up, I'd love to touch upon the upcoming trends and features of the concept. And looking ahead to the 2026, if you could make one bold prediction about the future of rewarded user acquisition, what would it be? And where do you see this model going?
Yeah, so AI has already started shaping rewarded UA by predicting which users are most likely to engage with the rewards and which will motivate them and how much they're worth long term. But in 2026, I expect to see a development of AI powered personalization. So this could be dynamic rewards tailored per player segment. So small daily boosters for casual players and premium currency for committed ones. Maybe this will also include stuff like creative matching, where AI serves the ad most likely to resonate with each individual. So really the reward UA campaigns will shift from this one size fits all to a hyper personalized experience for each individual user all the way through their journey.
Mm, that actually sounds like a very fundamental shift in the field of rewarded models. And I've noticed that in each point, it is always about this personal approach to each user that actually brings some unbelievable results, usually in practice. And I'm very excited to see those predictions coming through in the near future. But if we take that future facing view and bring it back to the day to day reality of someone managing campaigns right now, there's often a gap between understanding the model and truly using it well. So for UA managers who are definitely watching us right now and who are either new to rewarded campaigns or have fully embraced them yet, what is one mindset shift they need to make to really succeed with this channel?
Yeah, so really succeed, I think you need to shift that broad demographic targeting to AI driven targeting. In the past, marketers have relied on these broad demographics and static segments to decide who saw their ads. In 2025, this approach just isn't enough anymore. With the privacy rules that are changing player behaviors, and the rising UA costs, it makes this precision more critical than ever. Now, AI systems can analyze millions of signals in real time and are very, very effective at doing this. The problem is, I know it can be quite difficult to shift your mindset here. You generally have done a lot of research to find the demographic targeting that fits your app the best, and letting go of this and allowing AI targeting to find the best users can be difficult, but it will lead to much, much better results.
So that's actually a very great recommendation to our listeners and watchers. And I think our listeners should definitely note that down and always keep an eye on AI driven targeted that you mentioned. So thank you so much for this valuable advice. And I'm sure they might be really helpful for our audience that is interested in rewarded UA. So this has been a really deep dive, and let's end on something fast and a little more personal to you and your perspective as well. So we'll do a very quick blitz round to wrap up. So if you're ready, we can start with it.
Yeah, let's go.
So let's go. The first question is 3 words to describe Gamelight.
Exciting, transparent, and growth.
Great. One thing about rewarded UA or mobile marketing in general that you think we should leave behind in 2025?
Well, I think for rewarded UA just being for games, I think non-gaming is rising fast in rewarding UA, and many apps are already seeing results that kind of prove this wrong.
And the last one trend or development in the rewarded UA space that you personally most excited to see grow in the upcoming year?
Yeah, a development I'm excited to see is using rewarded UA as a portfolio retention strategy, not just as a external acquisition tool for publishers. So big publishers with multiple titles, they are already using rewarded ads for cross promotion by rewarding users for checking out other games and apps in their portfolio. But I think this will grow quite a lot in 2026. Rewarded systems will extend across apps. So where you may earn in-app currencies in one app and use them in another, with the idea that cross-promoted installs keep users inside the same ecosystem. So yeah, I'm very excited to see where this goes and how this will be adapted into different forms for different verticals. It could go anywhere at this point.
Yeah, it actually sounds very interesting, and I'm also excited to see how it will go in 2026. So, James, thank you so much for such an interesting and engaging talk on the topic of rewarded UA. That was genuinely insightful for me and our listeners, I'm sure. And thank you all for watching us. Don't forget to subscribe to not to miss the new episodes with the coolest experts of the performance marketing field. And see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.